Hello, I'm J. Lenore Bressler, and welcome to the February 10th, 2018 edition of the Bible Delight in the Details. We are looking at the great book of wisdom, Proverbs, and today we are in chapter 16, verse 8. In this proverb, King Solomon, the wisest and one of the richest men who has ever lived, made a very interesting statement. He said, "Better is little with righteousness than great gain with injustice." You know, you've probably heard that Jesus himself spoke more on the topic of money than on any other issue, including hell. Why so much emphasis on money? Because money is a very important part of our lives. We can't help it. We have to live. It brings the most stress into our lives when we don't feel we have enough of it. It can be used for such good. It can be used for such bad. It is one of those things that is neutral, but it really does kind of magnify who and what you are. And so Jesus speaks a lot about money, and it's not surprising that so does King Solomon in Proverbs. In fact, there are many, many Proverbs that talk about how to gain a goodly income, how to save money, how to work hard and invest well. A lot of times in the Christian history of the church, there's been a wide, frankly, shift between how people felt in the church about money. At one time, a lot of people, and still to this day, some Christians believe that monetary success is a clear and sure sign of God's favor. On the other hand, some go the opposite and say that only the poor are righteous and are uplifted in God's sight. The truth is that neither extreme is true. Money is like many things in this world. It's neutral. It can be good or it can be bad. It can be used for great benefit. It can be used in very malicious and evil ways. It is truly depends on who's holding it. Now, can you be wealthy and still good and still faithful and righteous? Absolutely you can. And being poor is not a guarantee of being virtuous either. But what Solomon is talking about here is the very easy temptation to think that money will solve every problem you have and be the solution to every issue. It solves a lot of problems, that's true, but not all problems. And certainly you do not ever want money or wealth in whatever form it may come, real estate or personal property or whatever. You do not want it to come at too high a cost. And what I mean by that is when you obtain anything, including your wealth, if you do it in a way that you can't be proud of, that you know you have you've given short shrift to someone, maybe even committed injustice in getting it, then if you are a righteous person, that gnaws at you, and you can't appreciate it. You can't enjoy it. It's like getting stealing food, and then you're choking on it because you can't enjoy it. It may taste good, but you don't see it, you don't taste it because of the guilt and the shame and the additional consequences of having sinned in order to obtain something that you thought you wanted. And so it's better to have little, says Solomon, with righteousness, in other words, with a clean conscience, than it is to have all the resources in the world, but knowing that you got it in a way that was not right. You're not going to be able to enjoy it. And how many people over the years of history have unfortunately been tempted only to find that all that wealth, fame, popularity, all of that they thought they wanted so badly came at just too high a cost. Why are some people, some goodly people, very wealthy and others not? Well, there's a variety of reasons. Some is maybe they have applied themselves more. Maybe they've been wiser. Sometimes it may have been that they were in the right place at the right time. But whatever it is, try not to get upset about that, or envious about that, or covetous about that, because ultimately we know that God views success very differently than the world. God's opinion of success is not about how much resources we've been able to amass, but rather it comes down to two things. And we see this in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 6. There are two things that God weighs in the balance as to whether or not ultimately you've lived a successful life. And it has nothing to do with the names of your cars, the brand of your clothes, the size of your house, or even your bank account. And that is faithfulness and godliness. Did you do what God called you in your uniqueness and in your specific situation to do, even when you didn't understand, even when maybe you thought, God, I think you're making a mistake here? Were you nonetheless faithful? And then, did you strive to be like God? Did you strive to follow after His Son in what it means to be holy, godly, like God? It's a great thing to know that that's how we are going to be evaluated, because for some people who've had bad luck, or they just haven't been blessed with a lot of resources in the world, they could get very worried about, oh my goodness, how am I going to be viewed up in heaven? But it also it does open up the gates that more people than perhaps you think are going to be thought of as being successful will be judged having been a success by the Lord. But on the other hand, it's a very, very high bar. Are we faithful? Are we godly? Well, certainly not as much as we ought to be. And that is why we need to rely on the godliness and the faithfulness of the ultimate faithful witness, Jesus Christ Himself. Thank God that the Lord gives us a mediator and a substitute for our ultimate judgment. I'm J. Lenora Bressler. Visit me on the next edition of The Bible, Delight in the Details. Have a great day.